Thank you for joining us this week on Bottom Line. Let's take a look at the news of the week. On the panel this week with us is Sugata Mukherjee with the Triangle Business Journal, Tracy Kimbrell, a partner, the Government Affairs Practice of Parker Poe, a law firm here in Raleigh, and Ashton Smith, the Community Project Manager for Citrix, a software company with offices in downtown Raleigh. Sugata, why don't you lead us off? What's the news business leaders need to know?
Joe, this week we sort of looked at the 4 eastern North Carolina counties that are, in terms of economic development, what is going on. And they are Edgecombe, Johnston, Nash, and Wilson. The reason we did that is because we've been hearing over the past year, since CSX Corporation announced that big connector hub, that it will sort of recharge the eastern North Carolina counties. So we
Will it be in Rocky Mount?
It will be in Rocky Mount, yes. And what we found was somewhat very interesting. The income levels, for example, large disparity, not only between the counties itself, but when compared to, say, Wake or Mecklenburg or some of the larger counties in these counties. And the population trend is also not very good. So the question is, we have to answer is, even if there is a lot of business activity in the next 4 or 5 years, they have to make a lot of effort in trying to recruit labor. The age, I think these counties are sort of aging out. And that's probably one of the key issues we're going to be following in the coming months.
Interesting. Well, Tracy, you monitor the legislative activity for your clients. We're wrapping up the legislative session this week. What are some of the key pieces of legislation you're seeing that will impact North Carolina's business community?
We are wrapping up, and we're seeing a pretty smooth close to the legislative session. I anticipate that we are in the final day of the session, if not the final day, the final 24 hours, meaning they may go into the wee hours of Friday morning. But for a final day of session, this is feeling rather calm. Folks are continuing to get along fairly well. We're seeing good negotiations on a few final pieces of legislation. Last night we saw the passage of House Bill 310, which is a wireless infrastructure siting bill, which is probably something that would be of interest to you all. Absolutely. But this bill is designed to streamline the process by which local governments site new wireless infrastructure. And so, as we know, we're all constantly using data, more and more data, and we want it quicker and faster and better all the time. So this bill will help make it easier for that siting in North Carolina across the state.
Tracy, I do have a question before you move on this wireless bill. There's been a lot of complaints by especially neighborhoods when they build the infrastructure, if you may, about digging yards up and this. We have done stories on it. You know, does the bill address any of this in terms of what the liability is from the city side, from the municipality side at all?
Yeah, it creates statewide predictability for those sorts of things. But one thing I would say is that the companies that come in to do this work, they really do want to be good community partners. That it's like so many basic business infrastructures, right? Whether it be transportation or energy or communications, these are things that we all need. Yes, there sometimes is that friction of where do you site it and how do you site it, but I do think most of these companies want to be good partners in these communities, and the bill has reached a compromise. It's the result of a stakeholder process that involved the League of Municipalities as well as the developers. So I think they came to a good and fair resolution.
Any other key pieces of legislation business leaders should know about coming up here in the final week?
Yes, well, another one that's still open and is in a conference process at this point is House Bill 589, which is energy competitiveness future for North Carolina. So this is again the result of a long-standing stakeholder process, about 10 months worth of negotiation. And the goal of this bill is to continue to allow a path forward for good renewables development in the state. We all know that those develop jobs, and
right.
it's a good balance to the energy portfolio.
Right.
But it also brings us better in line with the rest of the country in terms of rates that we're paying, terms of contracts for our renewables. So the estimate on the bill is that it will save North Carolina ratepayers almost $1 billion over the next decade. So that's another really good bill that's in conference at this point.
The credit is gone, however, correct? Wasn't there an element of...
So the bill actually doesn't touch on the tax credits or on the renewable energy portfolio standard. It touches on the application of what's called PURPA, which is a federal law that governs contracts for purchase of smaller renewables. So it's a fairly technical bill, but again, is a consensus bill after a lot of work that gives a lot of good benefit to the
Ashton,
state.
things this legislative session you've been monitoring that are important to your company and to the IT high-tech industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming off the small cell issue, there are certainly more and more needs for data in everything that we do and everything that we see, and having access to that information and the opportunity for information to move about the way that we want is enormously important as we look into automation and the frequency of Internet of Things, beginning to connect together. And you don't think you often need things like fiber and high speed, but suddenly your thermostat is smart, your refrigerator is smart, your television is smart, and there's more and more demands on our bandwidth. And it's important for neighborhoods and municipalities to have ways to sort of amplify their opportunities. And I think past that as well, the economic development opportunities. There's been some changes that we've seen to that, and to your point about the counties down east and how we are going to be able to grow those things, because a diverse economy benefits all the industries in North Carolina.
Well, I mean, this is great. I mean, these are particular bills that probably not only will help stakeholders, but sort of moves the state to a level that probably does begin to compete with other states. I am, however, sort of little concerned, if you may, at the level of unsophisticatedness, probably is the better word, if it is in fact a word, at how lawmakers don't understand cybersecurity. And
Right.
It is becoming a problem. We are hearing that from corporations over and over again. We are hearing from new companies that wants to relocate to the state. They are saying, like, what is your infrastructure like? What is your private security systems like? We're talking about these issues, about these bills. I wonder if they have addressed at least in this session, any bill about sort of beefing up the cybersecurity process. You're laying out a lot of infrastructure. As you said, data is going to come in and in and in, and it's going to only go up.
And we see these global cyber attacks from all over the place, and it's increasingly becoming an enterprise level issue. Big companies are dealing with needing to have secure infrastructure, and even looking at the way that the state IT systems are run. Can we do more to strengthen and make those more secure?
Are there workforce challenges that you're facing? Are you finding the employees that you need for the jobs you have available?
We are. I think there is we could always use more, and there's certainly the easy answer. And drawing bigger and more firms of the same kinds, more tech firms, more biotech, more pharma, actually helps all of us, because it's easier to attract additional talent. A good example is someone who may relocate to this area to take a job. Maybe it doesn't work out. It's important for us to have an opportunity for them to stay in the market and find something else. So we've got a lot of homegrown talent. We love the workforce we've got here, but the more we can bring, the better.
Great conversation, panel. Thank you so much.